The Irish Farmers Journal has published a survey showing that there would be significant support for a farmers' party in this country should such a party be formed. Now, there is a Farmers Alliance, that body. We're joined by Liam Laughlin, who is founder of the Farmers Alliance, and we're also joined by Helen Sullivan, who is a spokesperson for that body. Liam, first of all, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Liam, the Farmers Alliance got together. Now, we know that there's been a lot of discussion in national politics in recent months. Michael Fitzmaurice in particular, who is in the Rural Alliance Group of Independents in the Dáil, has also been speaking about this, some sort of a farmers' party, a rural-oriented party. What you're doing seems to very much dovetail with what he's speaking about. Do you believe there is a genuine momentum here?
There definitely is. Listen, the feedback on the ground, 100% there is. We run a poll on a couple of our groups, and that poll was put out to farmers, and it was basically put to them. There was two suggestions in it. One was, do they believe that we need a political party, basically bringing the independents together and forming a political party, or do we need a completely new party with all new faces? And 97% of the farmers voted in favour of a new farmers' party with all new faces. We definitely need to bump things up a bit and get a strong party on the ground working for the people, you know. Because the general public seem to be coming behind us as well. We've got support coming out of towns and cities and all sorts of rural areas, you know. It's no longer about it's the farmers that's heading it up, but basically we're definitely here to represent everybody, and everybody, you know, these people all seem to be coming forward looking for help now, you know, and there's very little negativity behind what we're doing, you know, a lot of positive feedback coming in, you know, and support.
One of the things you want to do is to challenge EU policy, and presumably that would involve at its absolute heart a root and branch review and potential restructuring of CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy.
Yeah, well, listen, we're not anti-EU, but there's certain regulations and things coming down the line there at the moment that are not suiting any farmer. These things are not designed for a lot of farms. You know, like we've got re-wetting, we've got all sorts of environmental schemes, and my firm belief is, listen, I'm all for looking after the environment. I'm quite willing to go into schemes, etc., but they have to be designed around the Pacific farm. You know, you can't put out a scheme that's going to and think it's going to suit everybody. You know, I think each farm should be given the opportunity to have some sort of scheme designed for their farm. You know, I know if somebody came here, like for instance, I could between myself and some planner, we could come up with a great scheme that would suit my farm but mightn't suit somebody down the road, you know, that's more intensive than me. You know, so I think a lot of these things that are coming down the line definitely need to be challenged, you know, and we're not just going to lie down now and take everything that's been thrown at it, because there's a lot of unfairness there towards the farmer, you know.
I want to bring in Helen O'Sullivan, a spokesperson with the Farmers Alliance, who's joined us as well. Helen, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us on.
It's our pleasure. Helen, a number of policy issues have been outlined by the Farmers Alliance, and that is the freedom to farm. And there are two ways of looking at the EU, and we touched on it there with Liam. One way is to look at the EU as an enabler which supports farmers. The other way is to look at the EU as a regulator which limits what farmers can do. Is the balance maybe tipping towards regulator rather than enabler at the moment?
Absolutely. We feel that there's actually too much dictatorship coming from Europe. There's a lot of red tape out there at the moment of regulation around farming. We feel that we can't really farm our own land anymore due to all of this red tape. Unfortunately, our government seems to kind of be rolling out this for our EU. The EU kind of tell our government, to jump, and our government kind of says how high. So we feel we're let down there. We don't really have representation there. Also, our European Commissioner, Ms. Ursula von der Leyen, she wants to be, carbon-free by 2050. But we think she's been very hypocritical because she's on about now trying to ratify a deal with the Mercosur, and that's where there's going to be 99,000 tonnes of beef imported into Europe. I mean, there's a huge carbon footprint there with that. Just to give you an example there, to produce 1 kg of meat here in Ireland, it's less than 18 kgs of carbon what we produce. But if you're to bring in 1 kg of meat from Brazil, we're talking about 1,000 kgs. So it's very hypocritical. It's kind of like, let's get Europe carbon neutral by 2050, but at the cost of the rest of the world. So by us playing part in that and taking in imports from the likes of Brazil, we are playing a part in cutting down the rainforest and not having the rest of the world meet their targets.
People will maybe not have heard Mercosur referenced for a while. It was a very big story perhaps a year and a half, 2 years ago, and certainly just before COVID it was a huge story. Now COVID maybe moved it off the front pages for a while, but very much from what you're saying then, Mercosur may have been long-fingered, but by no means was Mercosur actually scrapped, and it seems going to go ahead.
Yeah, I think they actually just parked it for a while, just again to distract us from it while they were working on something else. I mean, the Mercosur deal includes importing meat from the likes of Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay. I mean, they have absolutely zero regulations out there. Here in Ireland, we can trace everything back to the day the calf was born. We have to jump through many hoops, as every farmer will tell you. There's an awful lot of red tape. It puts an awful lot of pressure on the farmer. All of these pressures come together. It's not good for farmers' mental health between that and the weather. And then also we're being kind of labelled as environmental terrorists, which I think is totally wrong. I mean, every day you put on social media or put on television or radio, farmers are causing climate change. We're being blamed for it. Meat is bad for you. We're the cause of the bad water quality. No mention about the 7.5 million litres that are going in on a daily basis to our water courses. Again, it's all the farmers' fault. So we feel there's an awful lot of animosity out there towards us. And we think it's unfair. We think there's a huge gap there between the urban and rural dwellers. And that's due to misinformation, and that's part of what we want to do. We want to get the truth out there and let the people know it's not our fault. In fact, we farm very sustainably. We're the most sustainable producers of food in the world. We have the best quality food in the whole world. And in fact, I think we should be the ones to lead the way in Europe to provide Europe and beyond with that sustainable food. We have less carbon footprint compared to any country, so it makes a lot more sense to me for us to export it than to be imported from Brazil.
What happens next? There is obviously momentum there. You had a big meeting on Saturday last to outline your main objectives. The Irish Farmers Journal, you'll have seen, obviously, has published a poll today saying there would be huge support for a farmers' political party. Now, we're looking ahead in May, June of next year. We're going to have local and European elections. Could you foresee the Farmers Alliance moving candidates either locally or in Europe for 2024?
Absolutely, I don't see why not. I think there's a huge political will out there for a new party. And again, even though we're called Farmers Alliance, we're not just for farmers, we're for everybody. The one thing we all have in common here is food. So both urban and rural people eat that, and we have the finest of it. So we want to continue producing that for our nation and beyond. So I've no doubt in our mind that we will be having candidates running for local elections next year, and also for Europe. I don't see why not. Unfortunately, a lot of these decisions are being made at the table, and we have nobody representing us. And this needs to change, because if we can't make change now, then we might have farmers be fighting for in the future.
Liam Laughlin, one of the other findings of that Irish Farmers Journal poll was that support for Charlie McConalogue, Minister for Agriculture, appears to be going down. Now, you obviously, as an Inishowen man, will know Charlie McConalogue, I'm sure. From the point of view of the Farmers Alliance, what's your view on Charlie McConalogue's performance as Minister for Agriculture? Is he a minister that you believe you can trust going into the future?
Listen, Charlie, I have nothing against Charlie. Charlie's a sound man and a gentleman, but listen, I fear Charlie's just a puppet on strings for Europe at the moment. Charlie recently had a meeting in Greencastle with fisheries and the Maker Group, etc. And to be quite honest, it was actually embarrassing being in the room, because Charlie just possibly couldn't wait to get out of that room. And I do believe definitely, I agree with what you're saying in light of the support going down. Like, Charlie's not going in for another term, that's for sure, I would say. But I do believe there's an opportunity there for somebody to pick it up and maybe give the Micah homeowners especially a bit more support here, because they're obviously not being represented either. But as for Charlie, listen, again, I'll say it, like, Charlie's a sound man and a gentleman, but just unfortunately there's people above him controlling him, and there's only so much he can do as far as I'm concerned. And I think we need somebody now that's prepared to fight back against the powers that be above them,
Are you a potential candidate yourself, Liam? I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in the show will be looking to see now if they're going to see Liam McLaughlin's name either for Donegal County Council or for Europe.
Listen, I wouldn't rule nothing out, but I'm not going to commit to anything at the moment. We have candidates lined up there at the moment for various areas down the country already. And we have more coming on board there. And we're running through interviews, etc. So listen, I'll put it out there. Anybody in Donegal interested, give me a shout, like. And but as I say, I rule nothing out. But we'll definitely all have candidates in Donegal. We would hope to have a few candidates around Donegal as well,
And people are crying out for change and help. And again, it's not just in the farming area either, along with the urban dwellings, but our fisheries, that sector has been decimated as well, and a lot of regulations coming from Europe there as well. So, Donegal is a big fishing area, as is West Cork and Castleton there, Baltimore. But, they're in the same boat as ourselves, excuse the pun. Their livelihoods are being taken away as well. And, you have foreigners coming in here taking fish out of our waters, no regulation, no inspection, but yet if one of our fishermen caught one fish over quota, they'd be fined and put into jail. So I think it's very galling to see this kind of carry-on going on. I think there needs to be a fairer life for both fishermen, farmers, and everyone in general, So, we probably will have to rock the boat, again, excuse the pun, but look, if we let things where they are, nothing will happen. The feedback we're getting back from the people is, go clean slate, put in your own candidates, and that's not just people from rural areas. We're looking for people from all professional backgrounds, both rural and urban. We want to be there to represent everyone, not just the farmers, but everybody.
Helen and indeed Liam as well, thank you very much indeed to both of you for speaking to us on the programme this morning. We'll be watching the progress of the Farmers Alliance with interest and obviously looking very carefully at what candidates are put forward, particularly in Donegal and in this European constituency. In the meantime, Helen and Liam, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
That is the National Farmers Alliance, and if the Irish Farmers Journal poll is anything to go by, there could be significant support for that venture in the forthcoming election.